also pay glowing tribute to my brother, the former Minister for Defense, the Honorable Dr. Edward Omanebwama, and indeed all the fallen 8 heroes who left us under those tragic circumstances. As you do know, Dr. Omanebwama was a member of our Ministerial Advisory Board, and he had participated actively in our last board meeting the Friday before the tragic accident. So the ministry would like to renew our commiserations, particularly with his family and his loved ones, and we pray that the good Lord will grant him eternal rest. This morning, it gives me great pleasure to take my turn at the Government Accountability Series, and I would like to acknowledge the presence of my distinguished Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Chachi Kwesin. I also acknowledge the Chief Director of the Ministry, Her Excellency Ambassador Khadija Idrisu. I acknowledge the Director of the now famous Delivery Unit, Ambassador Alexander Grant Intrakwa. I acknowledge the Director of State Protocol, Ambassador Ekinsa Brokwa, who is a newly minted ambassador. I also acknowledge Director in my office, Nana J, Director Legal, Audrey Abayana, Director Estates, and all the directors. I see Director IPAP and COHAP, and I can go on and on, but for the sake of time, let me thank all of you for the massive support. The Minister for Government Relations said that since the Government Accountability Series started, this has been the most massive support for any minister. So I acknowledge that. I don't take your support lightly at all. I shall now delve into my script. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honor and a responsibility I hold in high esteem to appear before the people of Ghana to present the performance report of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as part of the government's laudable initiative, the Government Accountability Series. This platform reflects the vision of our President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to embed transparency, accountability, and participatory governance into every fiber of public service. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which I am profoundly honored to lead, derives its core mandate from Chapter 6, Articles 40, 73 to 75 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. We serve as the principal institution responsible for the formulation, execution, and coordination of Ghana's foreign policy. To achieve this, our operations are implemented through a robust and dynamic institutional structure comprising 27 functional bureaux and specialized units at the ministry's headquarters in Accra, including the Accra International Conference Center, the Passport Office, the Foreign Service Institute, and the Edu Lodge. We are also an international conglomerate. We operate through a network of 62 diplomatic missions and 10 consulates general, spread across strategic countries and regions around the globe. We also provide policy direction and oversight for 3 key subvented institutions, the All Africa Students Union, the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LESIAD, and the National African Peer Review Mechanism, NAPRM, Governing Council. Since assuming office on the 7th of February 2025, I have been guided by a transformative vision of diplomacy that is driven by the national interests, people-centered, development-oriented, grounded in integrity, and anchored on tangible outcomes. We have been committed to making the ministry more responsive to the needs of Ghanaians, more accountable in the use of public resources, and more effective in advancing Ghana's global interests. On my first day in office, I inaugurated 2 major reform committees, the first being the Passport Reforms Committee, which was tasked with conducting a comprehensive review of the existing passport application system. This committee's mandate included identifying bottlenecks, improving operational efficiency, reducing turnaround time, and enhancing the integrity and security of our travel document in accordance with international best practices. The second committee was on the welfare of Ghanaians. I inaugurated the committee on the same day I inaugurated the Passport Reforms Committee. It is known as the Committee on Migration and the Welfare of Ghanaians Abroad. They developed far-reaching framework to address the protection, rights, and development-oriented engagements of the Ghanaians in the diaspora. The goal was to create sustainable pathways for diaspora investment, welfare interventions, particularly during crisis, and to strengthen institutional mechanisms that support our citizens abroad. In response to international crisis, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has demonstrated both agility and commitment to the protection of Ghanaian citizens abroad. In this vein, I wish to express government's deep concern over the recent unfortunate clashes in Binyere in the Savannah region of Ghana near the borders with neighboring Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso, resulting in the loss of lives and displacement of Ghanaians in both countries. I promptly directed Ghana's embassies in Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso to actively collaborate with Ivorian and Burkinabe authorities to ramp up necessary consular assistance to our compatriots. In addition, I have personally been to Cote d'Ivoire since Friday, the 12th of September 2025. Indeed, I'm returning to Accra only this morning. During my 3-day working visit, I held discussions with my Ivorian counterpart, His Excellency Kaku Huaja Leon Adom, about the displaced Ghanaians in Cote d'Ivoire. After the talks, I led a team to the Bukani region, where some 13,253 displaced compatriots originally sought refuge. My visit was aimed at conveying a special message from President John Dramani Mahama to conduct further assessment of the situation for additional consular assistance, to express Ghana's gratitude to our Ivorian counterparts, and to offer immediate assistance. During my visit, I discovered that about 8,000 Ghanaians have safely returned home. The latest census conducted revealed that the remaining number of Ghanaians in Cote d'Ivoire is 5,309. 5,309, no more 13,253. I delivered a special message from President Mahama, which was a message of peace and forgiveness, and a message appealing to all our compatriots to return home, since government has beefed up security and ensured that normalcy is restored. On behalf of President Mahama, I donated 6 million CFA to cover urgent humanitarian needs and to facilitate logistical requirements for their safe return home. This donation is distinct from other relief items, including food, water, blankets, and medicines already provided through NADMO. I have also engaged my Burkinabe counterpart, His Excellency Karamoko Jean-Marie Traoré, on the welfare of our displaced compatriots, who are about 1,455. A reduction from the tally of 2,500 refugees during the peak of the conflict. In the Kwera area within the southwestern region of Burkina Faso, it is worth mentioning that the Foreign Minister of Burkina Faso has expressed pleasant satisfaction at the trend of Ghanaian refugees returning home. My ministry remains steadfast in its commitment to protecting the welfare of Ghanaian citizens abroad. It will continue to work assiduously with the support of the appropriate Ghanaian authorities, as well as the Ivorian and Burkinabe authorities, to provide the necessary assistance to our displaced compatriots. No Ghanaian in distress anywhere in the world will be ignored by the Mahama administration. While thanking the government and peoples of Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso, it is worth emphasizing that this episode reminds us to always be embracing and welcoming of our African compatriots. As I was reminded by my colleague foreign ministers, they were keen to stress that Ghana has always provided a safe haven to refugees from Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso, Liberia, Niger, and many other countries, as you all do know. So as they indicated, they are more than happy to return the favor, even if on a much smaller scale. Long live African solidarity. Ladies and gentlemen, similarly, during the recent escalation of hostilities between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the State of Israel, The ministry undertook swift and coordinated diplomatic and logistical interventions to ensure the safety of Ghanaian nationals in the affected region. These efforts culminated in the successful evacuation of 17 citizens, underscoring our unwavering dedication to safeguarding the welfare of Ghanaians, irrespective of their location. This operation is another testament of our capacity for rapid response in times of global uncertainty. It reinforces the importance of maintaining strong diplomatic networks and proactive contingency planning through our missions. I can announce that after 3 months of closure of our embassy in Iran, we shall fully reopen tomorrow, the 16th of September 2025. Measures have been put in place to guarantee the safety of our diplomatic staff. The ministry remains vigilant in monitoring international developments and stands prepared to act decisively whenever the safety and security of Ghanaian citizens and our foreign service officials are at stake. Still on the subject of the welfare of Ghanaians, we have expanded our focus and are paying special attention to our students studying abroad. As part of a broad diaspora engagement strategy, the ministry has initiated the establishment of student help desks within 11 of our diplomatic missions where student populations are the highest. These desks are equipped to support Ghanaian students with emergency aid and guidance on immigration and other critical matters. This initiative has been implemented without the recruitment of new staff or incurring additional costs, as the desks are manned by reassigned consular staff and will be scaled up to cover all missions in subsequent phases. In line with Ghana's long-standing commitment to Pan-Africanism and regional solidarity, the ministry has actively pursued educational diplomacy. I am pleased to announce that in collaboration with key stakeholders, the ministry is facilitating the implementation of 1,000 scholarships for students from the ECOWAS member states to study here in Ghana, as was announced on the 22nd of April 2025 during the launch of the 50th anniversary of ECOWAS by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. To this end, an intersectoral committee has been set up to oversee the implementation of these scholarships. This is positioning our country as a hub of educational diplomacy and soft power. Additionally, the ministry is facilitating educational scholarships from partner countries to qualified Ghanaian citizens. So far, approximately 1,500 scholarships in various fields of study from 15 countries have been negotiated and communicated to relevant institutions. From 1st October 2025, all these scholarships being secured by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be published on the ministry's website to promote transparency, fairness, and improve accessibility to all. I shall now discuss the deportation of some West African nationals from the United States of America. During his first media engagement on 10 September 2025, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama confirmed that Ghana has accepted some West African nationals who had been deported from the United States. Providing further elucidation, the President indicated that the U.S. government had approached Ghana with a request to receive some of these individuals, and his administration agreed to do so, provided they were nationals of West African countries. The President disclosed that the first batch of deportees, numbering 14 people, had already arrived in Accra. Among them were nationals of Nigeria and the Gambia, who have been assisted to return to their respective countries. The government of Ghana took the principled and humanitarian decision to accept the limited number of West African nationals deported from the United States under exceptional circumstances, in line with Ghana's long-standing Pan-African ideals and unwavering commitment to regional solidarity. Many of these individuals were being held in detention, which was both psychologically and physically distressing. They were also faced with the risk of being deported to countries that are not safe and do not have the stability and human rights credentials Ghana is famed for. You need to note that President Trump has secured a positive verdict from the US Supreme Court that he could go ahead and remove these nationals and dump them anywhere. As a nation that upholds the dignity and rights of all people, particularly those of African descent, Ghana's action was guided solely by our moral responsibility, our legal obligations under the 1992 Constitution and ECOWAS protocols, our distinguished Pan-African track record, and historic and legendary leadership in championing the rights of all Africans. Let me emphasize that under this understanding with the United States, Ghana must first independently vet the background of those the US intends to deport, to first satisfy ourselves that they do not pose any threat to the security of our country and that they cannot harm our citizens. We have put in place strict safeguards to ensure that convicted, hardened criminals cannot be brought into our country under this understanding. The Mahama administration will never compromise the safety and well-being of Ghanaians. This understanding with the US has been thoroughly discussed by Cabinet and has also received the Attorney General's advice. By established convention, MOUs are not sent to Parliament for ratification. I have inherited hundreds of MOUs from the previous administration, which were not sent to Parliament for ratification. May I assure the nation that if this initial understanding is elevated into a full-blown agreement, we shall not hesitate to comply with Article 75 of the 1992 Constitution by proceeding to Parliament for ratification. President Mahama carried out full disclosure at his media encounter because he's a staunch believer in the principles of transparency and accountability. In addition, he has absolutely nothing to hide on this matter. It is important to stress and to state unequivocally that Ghana has not received and does not seek any financial compensation or material benefit in relation to this understanding. Our decision is grounded purely on humanitarian principle and Pan-African solidarity, to offer temporary refuge where needed, to prevent further human suffering, and to maintain our credibility as a responsible regional actor. Ghana's decision must be understood as an act of Pan-African empathy. It is not transactional. Like Rwanda, Eswatini, Uganda, South Sudan, who are welcoming fellow Africans, we are standing up for our brothers and sisters in distress. And this should not be misconstrued as an endorsement of the immigration policies of the Trump administration. It is worth emphasizing that since the days of our forebears, Ghana has hosted freedom fighters, welcomed all Africans in the diaspora, offered them safe haven, resources, citizenship, and even our passports. That is why we are seen as the Mecca of Pan-Africanism. We shall not depart from that inspiring track record. I shall now discuss passport administration. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to report that the recent reforms undertaken by my ministry in respect of passport administration have already begun yielding significant results. As part of our digital transformation agenda, the ministry successfully rolled out the chip-embedded passports on the 28th of April 2025, placing Ghana among the African countries to implement this internationally compliant travel document. These next-generation passports boast over 175 advanced security features, up from 32 in the previous version, and meet the highest international standards set by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. This has drastically improved the credibility and security of Ghanaian travel documents on the global stage. We also enhance our mobile passport application service to support applicants with limited mobility, starting with a specialized deployment to assist this year's Hajj pilgrims, a demonstration of our commitment to inclusive service delivery. To further ease the process of obtaining a passport, we launched a passport home delivery system in partnership with 2 courier companies. I had the honor of personally delivering the first batch of passports under this service to applicants at their workplaces and homes, symbolizing our new approach of bringing government closer to the people. As of 10 September 2025, a total of 161,824 chip-embedded passports have been printed, of which 122,895 have been successfully delivered to applicants. Our reforms have also addressed the critical issue of delays in the processing of passport applications. Additionally, we have rolled out the 24-hour passport operations, ensuring a shorter turnaround time for passport issuance and delivery within 15 days to any part of the world. Currently, we have 13 passport application centers in 9 regions, with a breakdown as follows: 3 in the Greater Accra region, 2 in the Ashanti region, 2 in the Northern region, 1 in Upper West, 1 in Eastern, 1 in Central, 1 in Volta, 1 in Western, and 1 in the Bono region. Efforts are in place to open 7 additional passport application centers to cover the 6 new regions and Bolgatanga, the capital of the Upper East region. These parks will be opened this year. I am glad to note that the Bolgatanga Passport Application Center will be fully operational next month, October. I know our compatriots in the Upper East have been agitating for this, and I'm glad that next month your suffering will be over. We apologize to you for all the stress and the hassle, but the wait is over. Next month, I will personally be in Bolga to open this new park. The ministry has also received the tenders for the Passport Head Office Annex building project and is currently evaluating them. I'm also pleased to inform this gathering that in keeping our promise, we have submitted proposals to Parliament as contained in the new fees and charges bill for a reduction in passport fees from 500 Ghana cedis to 350 Ghana cedis for the 32-page booklet. It is expected to come into force once Parliament resumes session and passes the new fees and charges bill. Before Parliament went on break, it was late. And you know, for allies, it has to meet a 21-day count. And we couldn't get to 21 days before we took the break. But when we resume, certainly the count will be on. And after 21 days, this will come into force. It's quite miraculous that we are seeing all these reforms, these enhanced services, and yet the fees are going to go down. This is really remarkable. Meanwhile, we are also introducing a same-day passport delivery service for those with emergencies and members of the business community who may require super express service with a shorter turnaround time beyond the expedited service that we already render. And this is also contained in the new fees and charges. So when these new fees and charges matures, you will see that a new service provision will come into force where you can obtain a passport in a day without going through a middleman or a goro boy, as they are infamously called. The era of passport backlogs, I inherited over 70,000 of them, waiting for months before your passport is issued and being exploited by the infamous goro boys, are all behind us now. And we dare say that they are gone for good. Additionally, we have instituted a modernized digital application platform, established a 24-hour customer call center, and streamlined the process flow in partnership with the National Identification Authority. This has enabled real-time cross-verification, thereby reducing fraud and expedited processing. You may also wish to note that the ministry has also introduced in our missions a 5-day visa processing policy, with e-visas to be introduced next year, 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now focus attention on STRIDE. In a significant step toward long-term fiscal prudence and enhanced global representation, Cabinet has approved our strategic transition from renting to infrastructure development, STRIDE. So that is what the STRIDE initiative represents. Strategic transition from renting to infrastructure development, STRIDE. Under this landmark policy, the ministry will progressively reduce its reliance on rented facilities for its missions abroad by acquiring and developing permanent state-owned properties. The STRIDE initiative demonstrates our commitment to sustainable diplomacy, fiscal responsibility, and the dignified presentation of Ghana's image internationally. Ghana cannot continue spending $15 million every year on rent for our diplomatic missions. This cannot be judicious use of taxpayer resources. Our image is not enhanced abroad, and it certainly does not do our foreign service any good. The reset agenda demands that we fix this, and I pledge to you that we shall do just that. Following Cabinet's approval and the President's instruction, a transaction advisor has been appointed by the Finance Ministry, and the Finance Ministry has also initiated the process to engage a consortium of banks that will be responsible for funding the STRIDE initiative in a transparent and competitive manner. So far, we have documentation confirming land donation to Ghana in 23 countries for construction of chanceries and residences. These lands will be fully utilized to save costs and drastically reduce the financial burden of STRIDE. So in 23 countries, we don't have to purchase land. We have donations because of our good bilateral relations with the governments of those countries. And it really cannot be prudent to own lands in these 23 countries and at the same time be renting at really exorbitant costs for all these decades. And the sad part is that some governments are beginning to threaten that they will take their land back if we are not going to make good use of the land. And that is why this STRIDE initiative is so timely and must be supported by all. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I use this golden opportunity to announce that the Mahama administration has decided that these new Ghana embassies and high commissions to be constructed across the world must have a standard design which should depict our unique heritage and culture. We are therefore today announcing an open competition which should lead us to select the most iconic, green, and creative architectural design for Ghana House, as they will be known across the world. This competition is open from today, 15th September 2025, to Friday, 14th November 2025. All Ghanaian architects, whether young or old, fresh graduates or legends, you are all free to participate in this competition. It is worth noting that this is obviously a refreshing departure from the recent past. We saw all major national projects being single source for one architect. From National Cathedral, Marine Drive, Agenda 111, Bank of Ghana Head Office, Du Bois Center, New Parliamentary Chamber, Trade Fair redesign, GMPC Head Office, Airport City, and I can go on, all going to one architect. That era has ended. There's a new reset. And this is another confirmation that the reset is truly happening. Now I come to oral. As the former chairman of Operation Recover or Loot, oral, which was a cornerstone of President Mahama's campaign and a legitimate popular demand of the Ghanaian people, I can confirm that the principles of oral strongly undergird every decision I take as Minister for Foreign Affairs. Some of our oral successes at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs include: 1, reclaiming all the ministry's land at Airport Residential Area, which had been sold; 2, aborting the illegal sale of our diplomatic property in Lagos, Nigeria, and assisting national security to arrest the prime suspect, one Mr. Bright Mensah Bonsu, who received part payment of $1.5 million, which, by the way, was never paid into any government account. He was on a frolic of his own, not a staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, even though he managed to obtain a diplomatic passport. I am glad to say that Oral is working in our ministry. He has been picked up. He is in the firm grips of national security, and that $1.5 million must be returned to the owners. That property is not for sale. 3, we have also reversed the ministry's initial decision to sell our diplomatic property in Lusaka, Zambia. 4, we have made clear that no sale of the ministry's landed properties will be tolerated. Pursuant to that, we have established an asset register to take proper inventory of all our assets. 5, we have cancelled a November 2024 $3.5 million Abidjan Embassy renovation contract, which did not follow due process and was not budgeted for. That transaction has been cancelled. 6, we have also boldly and decisively dealt with the canker of corruption at our Washington, D.C. mission, and we have embarked on systemic overhauls. The details are well known. This became a matter of considerable national discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, to guarantee value for money, transparency, and accountability, no contract has been awarded on a single source basis since I became foreign minister. There is strict instruction to our procurement department to ensure that all procurement is competitive and complies with the Public Procurement Act. From the passport courier companies you are seeing working, it was done competitively. Ticketing is being done competitively. The passport head office project is being done competitively. Even contracts as mundane, you may think, as cleaning contracts, I instructed that it should be done competitively. The purchase of staff buses, competitively. Every single contract has gone through a competitive, credible process. Competitive procurement is no longer the exception, is no longer rare. It is now the mainstay. I am able to disclose that Oral does not enjoy only local support. There is overwhelming international support for Oral, which our ministry has been facilitating with other institutions of state. We shall continue with our international collaboration as we support President Mahama and the Attorney General to make Oral succeed. For instance, on President Mahama's recent historic state visit to Singapore, an agreement was reached to support Oral by creating a bilateral framework to build the forensic capacity of Ghana's anti-corruption institutions, including IOCO, SHRAJ, OSP, and the police CID, taking into account Singapore's globally celebrated anti-corruption reputation. Now I shall come to other broad governance issues at the ministry. In strengthening our institutional capacity, we inaugurated the Ministerial Advisory Board and the Governing Council of the Foreign Service Institute in May 2025. These bodies will provide high-level strategic oversight, support long-term planning, and foster interagency collaboration. Furthermore, a novel delivery unit was established within the ministry, headed by a former ambassador, His Excellency Alexander Grant Intrakwa. The unit rolled out our groundbreaking key performance indicators for our ambassadors and high commissioners. The 500-page KPIs were launched by His Excellency the President at the opening ceremony of the Conference of Heads of Mission on the 1st of September 2025. This is the first time in the history of Ghana that our envoys are being sent out with a clear performance framework to guide the execution of their mandate. The KPIs are intended to make our diplomats more accountable and ensure our missions deliver tangible outcomes in trade promotion, diaspora engagement, creating markets for Ghanaian products, cultural diplomacy, and consular services, among others. To further widen Ghana's global reach and to deepen bilateral cooperation, the ministry has established a mission in Budapest, Hungary this year. It intends to establish consulates general in Lisbon, Portugal, Dublin, Ireland, and Massachusetts in the United States, as well as Singapore, which was announced by President Mahama during his recent state visit. As part of enhancing the performance of the ministry and its missions abroad, the ministry convened the 2025 edition of the Conference of Heads of Mission and Orientation Program for newly appointed envoys from 1st to 5th September 2025. The program brought together Ghana's ambassadors, high commissioners, consuls general, and a cohort of newly appointed envoys to engage in high-level deliberations on the evolving role of diplomacy in advancing Ghana's national interests. The conference anchored on the theme harnessing the dividends of diplomacy for Ghana's research agenda, provided a platform to realign Ghana's diplomatic efforts with the government's broader vision of national renewal, economic transformation, and global repositioning. Alongside strategic discussions, the program included briefings by key resource persons, including honorable ministers and technical experts on the government's policy directions. Her Excellency the Vice President, Professor Jenana Opoku-Agyeman, lent further weight to the proceedings by joining the launch of the KPI initiative. At the same time, the Gammanche, Ni Taki Teiko Chru II, who chaired the opening ceremony of the conference, spoke passionately about the importance of cultural diplomacy. And you all agree that his address was most illuminating. The 5-day event also witnessed the commissioning of 18 ambassadors and high commissioners and the attendance of 21 envoys who are yet to be commissioned. The highlight of the week was the closing ceremony awards and dinner night, which was graced by the Chief of Staff, the distinguished Julius Debra, as the guest of honor, Minister for African Integration and Foreign Affairs of Senegal, Her Excellency Yassine Fall, honorable ministers, as well as other government officials. 5 of our veteran diplomats, whose distinguished service has shaped Ghana's diplomatic legacy, received meritorious awards. They are Dr. Obed Asamoah, the longest-serving foreign minister, Ambassador James Victor Beho, Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers, Ambassador Chris Bodo, and the 101-year-old Ambassador Richard Maximilian Akwe. He is the only surviving diplomat, the first 10 diplomats who established the Foreign Service of Ghana. He is the only surviving diplomat. Really blessed indeed. And he told me that he's really glad that his sacrifices have been finally recognized. And I want to thank colleagues for making that happen. Now, regional integration and candidatures. Ghana's visibility and leadership on the African continent have grown significantly in the past 8 months. Through intense diplomatic lobbying and strategic engagement, 3 distinguished Ghanaians have been elected to senior roles within the African Union. These include Ambassador Amachum Amwa as the Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development of the AU, Ambassador Jengasu Aheto as a member of the African Union Commission on International Law, and Mr. Kwame Edem Senanu as a member of the African Union Advisory Board Against Corruption. These victories reflect the growing respect for Ghanaian professionalism and values on the continent. Additionally, we led the campaign that resulted in Dr. Delise Memedako becoming the first Director General of the African Medicines Agency, a testament to Ghana's commitment to public health and pharmaceutical sovereignty. Dr. Odro Osai was also successfully elected to the United Nations Committee of Experts on Public Administration. In furtherance of regional cooperation, Ghana had the honor of hosting the official launch of the 50th anniversary of the Economic Community of West African States on 22nd April 2025 at the Accra International Conference Center. The event brought together heads of state, ECOWAS Commission heads, and key stakeholders to reflect on 5 decades of regional integration and chart a new course towards a more prosperous, peaceful, and united West Africa. Now, I shall focus on multilateral cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the President will lead a delegation to participate in the high-level week of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly from the 22nd to the 30th of September 2025 in New York. That is just next week. The 80th session is being held under the theme Better Together, 80 years and more for peace, development, and human rights. In keeping with previous practice where heads of state and government address the General Assembly, President Mahama would deliver the national statement during the general debate on Thursday, 25th September, as the 12th speaker. Kindly take note, media. President Mahama speaks on Thursday, the 25th of September, 2025. President Mahama will make history as the first Ghanaian president to return to address the United Nations after an 8-year hiatus, if I will put it that way. As part of his engagement while in New York, President Mahama will participate in several high-level meetings and side events. President Mahama, in his capacity as African Union champion for African financial institutions, will host a side event on Africa's financial sovereignty on 24th September 2025. This event will bring together heads of state and government, finance ministers, governors of central banks, and representatives of the African Union and other institutions to reassert Africa's financial sovereignty, build momentum for the establishment and effective operationalization of AU financial institutions, and seek reforms in the global financial architecture. Furthermore, given the role of the President of the Republic as the AU champion for reparatory justice for Africans and people of African descent, and Ghana's leadership in advocating for reparative justice and reforms, Ghana will co-host a side event with the President of Senegal on 25th of September 2025. The President is also scheduled to hold several bilateral meetings with his counterparts to discuss issues of mutual interest. Some of the highlights of these bilateral engagements include a bilateral meeting with the President of South Africa, a bilateral meeting with the President of the Republic of South Korea, a bilateral meeting with the Emir of Qatar, the Crown Prince of Kuwait, the President of Sudan, Prime Ministers of Netherlands, Austria, Ukraine, and Suriname. Bilateral and international cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, our international cooperation efforts have extended well beyond the African continent, underscoring Ghana's commitment to constructive global engagement. I had the honor of leading and facilitating several high-level diplomatic engagements, which have yielded tangible outcomes, particularly in the area of bilateral agreements. Notably, we concluded and commenced implementation of the Visa Waiver Agreement for ordinary passports with the Kingdom of Morocco. We have also concluded and ratified visa waiver agreements with the Republic of Mozambique, the Republic of Colombia, the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe, and the Commonwealth of Dominica. I have also concluded in recent weeks visa waiver agreements with Serbia, Algeria, and Angola. These agreements represent a significant step towards enhancing the global mobility of Ghanaians, placing more value on the Ghanaian passport, and fostering stronger economic, cultural, and people-to-people exchanges. The ministry also facilitated the ratification of the following treaties and agreements by Parliament. The Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which President Mahama will be depositing as part of his UN General Assembly commitments. Host country agreement between Ghana and Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA. Agreement on World Trade. Host country agreement between the Republic of Ghana and Afrobarometer LBG. Protocol relating to an amendment to Article 50A of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, signed at Montreal on 26 October 1990. Agreement on World Trade Organization, WTO fisheries subsidies. Constitution of the African Civil Aviation Commission, AFCAC. The 2012 Cape Town Agreement on the implementation of the provisions of the Torremolinos Protocol of 1993 relating to the Torremolinos International Convention for the Safety of Fishing Vessels 1997. Protocol relating to an amendment to Article 56 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, signed at Montreal on 6 October 1986. And let me reveal that my legal department has not been sleeping, and all the complaints have come to my attention. But Director Legal Audrey is more than capable, and so she will continue not to sleep for God and country, as I always say. Ladies and gentlemen, our diplomatic engagements have also deepened ties with our strategic partners. I had the privilege of co-chairing the 2025 Ghana European Union Partnership Dialogue held in Accra on 17 June 2025, where we deliberated on priority areas including trade and investment, climate action, security cooperation, and youth employment. Other political consultations include the maiden Ghana-Qatar political consultations held in Accra on 24th April 2025, during which 9 MOUs were discussed. MOUs for cooperation in the field of tourism and business events and mutual cooperation in the field of health are ready for signing, while a few others are at various stages of negotiation. The maiden session of the Ghana-Kuwait political consultations was also held in Kuwait on 26 May 2025. 4 MOUs in the following areas were discussed: exchange of labor in the private sector, maritime cooperation, recognition of seafarers, tourism, culture, and creative arts. The 9th session of the Ghana-Switzerland political consultations took place in Bern, Switzerland on 3rd March 2025. Discussions during the event centered on key areas of cooperation between the Republic of Ghana and the Swiss Confederation, spanning 4 main thematic categories: political relations, bilateral relations, regional matters, and multilateral matters. The 4th Ghana-Netherlands political consultation was held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in The Hague on Wednesday, 2nd July 2025. The consultations addressed the following thematic areas: global affairs and security cooperation, cooperation in the multilateral system, human rights, migration, cultural cooperation, macroeconomic development, trade and investment, cocoa, agriculture, and food security. Such engagements, ladies and gentlemen, reaffirm Ghana's role as a credible partner on the global stage and contribute meaningfully to our national development objectives. A milestone in our strategic bilateral engagement was a historic state visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi of the Republic of India to Ghana from 2nd to 3rd July 2025, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in over 3 decades. The visit reaffirmed the strong and enduring partnership between Ghana and India, rooted in shared Commonwealth values, South-South cooperation, and mutual respect. During high-level discussions, both leaders explored key areas of collaboration, including trade and investment, green energy, healthcare, digital innovation, education, defense, and critical minerals. India also pledged technical support for Ghana's vaccine hub ambitions and digital payments infrastructure, drawing on its Unified Payments Interface, the UPI model. The visit culminated in the signing of 4 memoranda of understanding covering cultural exchange, standards, and certification, traditional medicine, and a joint commission mechanism. Outcomes included a commitment to double bilateral trade and deepen cooperation in emerging sectors. This comprehensive partnership marks a new chapter, an elevation in Ghana-India relations, and reflects Ghana's broader commitment to inclusive, equitable, and forward-looking partnerships within the global South. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic, led a high-level delegation, including my good self, to participate in the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD 9, held in Yokohama from 20th to 22nd August 2025. This strategic engagement provided a platform to strengthen Ghana-Japan relations and explored new avenues for development cooperation. During the visit, President Mahama successfully secured a series of investment deals across key sectors aimed at accelerating Ghana's economic transformation and inclusive growth. The following are some of the key investment deals secured from Japan: revival of the Volivo to Dofwa-Didome Bridge project across the Volta River, with both governments committing to provide the required additional funding. And here I have to do full disclosure, and declare my interest that this is a constituency project. The Volivo to Dofwa-Didome Bridge will really help my North Town people. But it's been a long-standing project, and I'm glad that it's going to come into fruition since President Mahama negotiated this in 2016. Then there is the urban transport, the Kumasi Inner City Ring Road project, to commence shortly. A new agreement with Toyota to expand operations in Ghana and make Ghana its West African hub. A space cooperation agreement signed with Japan to leverage satellite technology and space science for Ghana's development. A program to train 300,000 African youth in artificial intelligence, modern agriculture, biotechnology, green transition, and tech startups. Special cooperation with Japan to boost rice production through scientific research to attain national food security. Here again, Aveima rice in my hometown, which has collapsed, is likely to be revived. Then $100 million secured to support new agricultural projects. Then a strategic partnership with Japan as the country considers investing $1.5 billion in Africa, with Ghana identified as a primary beneficiary. The following memoranda of understanding were signed on the margins of the summit. Cooperation on promoting business and investment relations between Ghana and Japanese businesses. Space business cooperation, co-creation, development implementation of information technology education curriculum in Ghana, industrial development through the expansion of the automotive business. At the invitation of His Excellency Tharman Shanmugaratnam, President of Singapore, President John Dramani Mahama undertook a historic state visit to Singapore from 26 to 28 August 2025, becoming the first Ghanaian president to do so. The visit aimed at strengthening bilateral cooperation across key sectors, including trade, investment, education, science, innovation, agribusiness, urban development, and the digital economy. It also sought to foster strategic partnerships that support Ghana's economic transformation while enhancing Singapore's engagement with African markets. During the visit, the President had the opportunity to present Ghana's investment potential to a distinguished group of global investors and development partners. The primary objective was to attract investment commitments, strengthen strategic partnerships across key sectors, and position Ghana as a gateway for Singaporean businesses seeking access to opportunities within the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. As a result of these engagements, President Mahama successfully secured investment deals valued at $1 billion, spanning a range of strategic sectors. The underlisted agreements were secured during the visit. Olam committed to invest $200 million in new projects, including a new 43,000 metric ton pasta processing plant and a feed processing plant for poultry and agriculture. And I am glad to announce that they have commenced construction, and the President is eager to commission these projects next year if they go according to schedule. Shangri-La has also pledged to construct a $300 million ultra-modern 5-star hotel, a mall, and a convention center. Ghana seeks to become the conference destination in West Africa, and this project is really key in helping us achieve that objective. Then a 10,000 capacity student hostel is to be built for students at the University of Ghana. We are told that the residential deficit is now in excess of 50,000, and this will go a long way to reduce the plight of our younger compatriots who are forced to grapple with in, out, 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 as we hear. Security upgrades at Kotoka International Airport to enhance our capability to, among others, check smuggling and drug trafficking. Expansion of Tema Port and revival of the Tema Dry Dock. Construction of a new jetty for oil ships. Partnership with Singapore to establish road material testing labs across Ghana. Collaboration between the central banks of Ghana and Singapore to launch a common payment platform to enhance Africa-Asia trade. A TVET collaboration with Singapore Institute of Technology to establish a model Accra Institute of Technology. Execution of projects under the bilateral carbon credit agreement. As part of a public service research initiative. The first group of 18 chief directors from Ghana's ministries have already traveled to Singapore and are there currently for intensive leadership bootcamp focused on capacity building and knowledge sharing. Singapore has also offered to share best practices with staff of the parks and gardens, and only this week we held discussions to facilitate the trip of our officials. You do know that President Mahama has had a special honor where at the Singapore Botanic Gardens, a special orchid has been named after him. He's the only second Ghanaian after Kofi Annan to have that honor at that UNESCO heritage site. And we are glad that our parks and gardens officials are going to work with their Singaporean counterparts so that we can also beautify Ghana. Interestingly, both parks and gardens were established in the 1850s to 1870s by the same colonial masters we share. President Mahama also held bilateral discussions with Prime Minister Lawrence Wong. A key highlight of the engagement was the signing of 3 memoranda of understanding as follows: MOU on bilateral consultation to enhance diplomatic coordination, MOU on capacity building to foster skills development, MOU on the adoption of Singapore's standards of mass flow meters. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our strategic partnership with the People's Republic of China has expanded significantly, marked by increased diplomatic engagement, deepening economic cooperation, and the pursuit of mutual beneficial development initiatives. On 7 July, I signed a $30 million grant agreement with the Chinese government to support the construction of a modern market in Aflao, the Volta region's largest border town. This grant complements earlier Chinese support to Cape Coast and reflects a balanced approach to regional development. Ghana is one of the African countries to benefit from the zero tariff access offered by the Chinese government for African exports to the Chinese market. We have opened negotiations on electric vehicle assembly, bauxite to aluminium value addition, and the establishment of direct flights between Ghana and major Chinese cities. Ghana continued to strengthen its global diplomatic footprints through both inbound and outbound high-level engagements. We had the honor of hosting official visits from several global leaders, including the President of the Czech Republic, the President of the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe, and His Majesty the King of Eswatini. The Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, I should say now former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, who resigned last week, among others. These visits resulted in the signing of several critical MOUs in key sectors such as civil aviation, political consultations, cultural exchange, and economic cooperation, underscoring Ghana's role as a trusted partner in multilateral and bilateral relations. In furtherance to a strategic diplomatic agenda, I undertook working visits to Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Algeria, Morocco, Cape Verde, Germany, and the United Arab Emirates. Please take note that I started with my neighbors. Good neighborliness remains a major foreign policy objective of our country. These visits focused on deepening bilateral ties, exploring new areas of cooperation, and advancing Ghana's foreign policy priorities. A notable highlight was my visit to Algeria, where our diplomatic engagement culminated in the signing of a historic comprehensive strategic partnership. This far-reaching agreement encompasses collaboration in defense, higher education, cultural exchanges, visa waivers, and improved air connectivity. We also jointly committed to expanding bilateral trade while securing renewed scholarship opportunities for Ghanaian students, particularly in fields such as artificial intelligence and engineering. The ministry is also in discussion with the underlisted countries to sign labor mobility agreements with them, enabling Ghana to export its human resources and create employment opportunities for its citizens as they also come back more skilled to help our economy grow. And the countries are Jamaica, Germany, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Barbuda, Qatar, UAE, Serbia, and Bulgaria. Together, These engagements reflect Ghana's unwavering commitment to deepening international partnerships that align with our national development goals while promoting peace, prosperity, and mutual respect on the global stage. As part of Ghana's economic diplomacy agenda, I participated in the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, as well as a dedicated Ghana Business Forum held in Guangzhou. These high-level engagements provided a strategic platform to advance Ghana's investment promotion efforts and strengthen commercial ties with the People's Republic of China. During this forum, I held direct discussions with over 30 leading Chinese enterprises, including Huawei, the global group Beijing Construction, and GAC Motors, to position Ghana as a preferred destination for sustainable investment and industrial partnerships. These engagements have already begun yielding tangible outcomes. Notably, GAC Motors has expressed a keen interest in establishing electric vehicle manufacturing operations in Ghana. They are due to arrive in Ghana next month to begin preparations for the establishment of this electric vehicle manufacturing company. This step aligns with our broader goals of advancing e-mobility and green industrialization. In addition, several companies demonstrated strong interest in supporting infrastructure development and digital transformation initiatives. Through these efforts, ladies and gentlemen, we continue to prioritize investment opportunities that align with Ghana's comparative advantage and are consistent with our national industrialization agenda to create decent jobs, foster innovation, and accelerate inclusive economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana's diplomacy is undergoing a meaningful reset and a purposeful transformation, recalibrated not merely as an instrument of statecraft, but as a catalyst for inclusive development, national pride, and global leadership. The ministry is at the forefront of this renaissance, delivering tangible results, leading with integrity, and consistently championing the interests of Ghanaians both at home and abroad. And that is why I am delighted to indicate that we now have new conditions of service to further motivate our hardworking and dynamic staff at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As they deliver more results, we must also be interested in their welfare and doing more to motivate them so that the morale will continue to be high. I see Ambassador Akins is excited about that. With the continued support of all stakeholders and the Ghanaian people, we remain steadfast in our commitment to building a foreign service that is professional, people-centered, and purpose-driven. Our vision is clear: to establish a modern, effective, and globally respected foreign policy apparatus that reflects Ghana's values, advances our national interests, and enhances our standing on the world stage. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs stands ready to meet this mandate with dedication and resolve in service to the nation and its citizens. Let me thank you all for the very insightful questions. I have written 10 questions from all of you, and I will proceed on the order with which we received the questions. Maxwell Agbagba of Joy, on the third country deportation, you are wondering if we will not be seen as an enabler. To the contrary, I mean, these people had their rights being violated already before their departure. We have followed the lawsuits that have been filed, and it is important to stress that Ghana has not been cited. We are not the target of these persons who say their rights have been violated. Their target is the United States, the Trump administration. And as has been pointed out, we are only helping our brothers and sisters. We are coming in purely on humanitarian grounds, expressing Pan-African solidarity, which Ghana is famed for. So we should rather be seen as a country that wants to look out for its fellow Africans. That is why we made it clear to the Americans that we will not accept $1. We don't want any, because it comes with some financial burden, you know, hosting them, taking care of the accommodation and all of that before they transition to their countries. But we said that we will not, because it could be misconstrued and the impression could be created that we are doing this for some other motive, some financial objective. We are not seeking any financial gain at all, and we have stated that under no circumstance will we accept any financial reward for accepting. We just could not continue to take the suffering of our fellow West Africans. And remember that West Africans can come to our country visa-free for 90 days under ECOWAS protocols. So really, what we are doing is consistent with our ECOWAS protocols. The second part of your question, Maxwell, is that are we going to be expanding this to other Africans? For now, the strict understanding we have with the Americans is that we are only going to take West Africans. And we did that because we noted that in other regions of Africa, other countries were looking out for citizens of those regions. For example, Uganda, Rwanda, Eswatini, Sudan, taking care of Africans from other regions. So we thought that since there was a vacuum in West Africa, we should step in as part of our Pan-African credentials to take care of West Africans. So for now, it is tied strictly to West Africans. Then Fred Duho on China and Galamsey. We have very great relations with China, and to be fair to the Chinese, a lot of them are doing good business. They are investing in transformative projects. There is no official China government policy to come and destroy our environment, and they have made clear anytime we have engaged with officials in Beijing, they have been supporting us to get rid of their nationals who come in. And as you do know, we have been cracking down, arresting them, prosecuting them, and we will continue with the arrests and prosecutions. I can confirm to you that as part of my recent visit to China, I went to the state where they are notorious for sending their nationals here to engage in Galamsey. I met with the governor, the city authorities, and Director Asia is here. He can confirm that in that meeting, I did not mince words at all. I really stated President Mahama's position that this cannot continue. We welcome good investors to come partner with us and transform our economy, but we will not accept you sending your nationals here to engage in Galamsey. And we made that very clear to the city authorities. What we have also done subsequently following that meeting is that we have a new policy now at our embassy in Beijing and our consulate in Guangzhou, where we no longer process group visa applications. That's the new policy. Everybody must show up for an interview, and no matter if you claim you are coming for a conference, an excursion, whatever, you must all produce yourselves individually and apply individually. So there's a strict directive that no more group processing of visas, which was one of the outcomes of the meeting we held with the city authorities. I forget the name of that city. The Guangxi province, and the city specifically is Nanning, yes, Nanning. So I can assure you that we are dealing with that matter very fairly in our national interest, because this Galamsey menace is really a menace that all of us must confront, and it aches my heart. It gives all of us sleepless nights. It is an existential threat we face, and if we don't deal with it boldly and ruthlessly, we are virtually on a suicidal path. And the little we can do as foreign ministry, making sure that at least we stop suspicious characters from coming in, we are doing that. Of course, we are not responsible for going into the field and removing those who are engaged in that. We have other ministries who are capable and competent in dealing with the ground menace. Then I come to Our Lady from Despite, Salamatu, who is asking if the courtesies and privileges due the former president and the former vice president, if they are intact. I can confirm to you that all the courtesies due our former president and his spouse, not only the former president, his spouse, the former vice president and his spouse, we extend courtesies and privileges to them. Indeed, I issued a circular very early on that all courtesies and privileges that must be accorded them. And it's really about the image of our country. Imagine a former president of Ghana arriving in another country and he has to be looking for an Uber or taxi, and they are known. I mean, so it will not be an affront to them. It will be an affront to the image of our country. So that circular is in force, and I can confirm that it's being used. Only last week, the former First Lady was with us in Addis Ababa. Full courtesies extended to her, the Honorable Samira Baumia. She was invited for the Africa Climate Summit, and we extended full courtesies. Dr. Baumia himself had been invited to Brussels not long ago. Ambassador Techi Mensin called me to confirm that can he still proceed to extend full courtesies. I said, yes, why not? Go ahead. So we have been doing that. And I want to assure you, every request I have received, I have approved without delay. So I can confirm that to you. It's about the image of our country. And when it comes to certain matters, we have to put aside needless, petty politicking. Then Patrick Ashford Buedu is asking the state of the presidential jet. The presidential jet, the last briefing we had in cabinet is that it is still being serviced in France. As the president has explained to the public, it went for routine servicing, and it was discovered that there was massive corrosion. I think that the late defense minister was also in parliament to provide details, and that massive corrosion has led to a very long delay in the servicing of the presidential jet. You also asked that how will President Mahama be traveling? President Mahama has not complained about commercial travels. I have seen some people say, oh, President Mahama spent 22 hours in Dubai, and they blame me for that. I saw a colleague of yours apologizing to President Mahama. That is because of me. That if President Mahama had his own way, he would have chartered a luxury jet. But because I'm foreign minister, he cannot do that. That is so unfair to President Mahama. That was just propaganda. It is not true. No president will be allowed to be stranded at an airport. Let us get serious and stop this childish propaganda. We have a consulate in Dubai. We have a full mission in UAE. I mean, you think that foreign service officials there will keep their job? If it comes to my attention that the commander-in-chief, our president, was allowed to be stranded at an airport in Dubai because he couldn't charter a jet. Please, let's credit the Ghanaian people with some discernment and some modicum of wisdom. It's just propaganda. Some people clearly want to justify certain actions of the past and whitewash. I still maintain that when our presidential jet is in good condition, in pristine condition, let me use the word which has become very famous. People speak as though I created that word. When our presidential jet is in pristine condition, it is not right to be chartering 18,000 pounds, $20,000 an hour charter jet. We come into public office to protect the purse and to do our best to be measured and to be frugal President Akufo-Addo himself promised us at his inauguration that he was coming to protect the public purse. So I do not see why some people want to use this as some opportunity to settle, political scores and to come after me in the most unfair manner. Everything I stood for, I still stand for that. And I still maintain that Ghana needs a presidential travel policy. Are you aware, ladies and gentlemen, that in the United States of America, when the president uses the presidential jet for private business, maybe fundraising for his campaign or for campaign activity, he is made to reimburse the American taxpayer. These are rich countries, superpowers. We go to borrow from them. But they have a presidential travel policy to protect the public purse. And some of us advocated for that. And because of that, we've become enemies to some. But these are principles I hold dear. And I know that I'll be vindicated with time. Indeed, I have a private member's bill in Parliament advocating for a private member's law which will regulate presidential travels and make sure that these things are not left to the discretion and pleasure, personal idiosyncrasies of whoever is president. And so these things are not targeted at any specific person. For example, I've heard some people say that I must have something personal against the former president. I don't. And probably you can tell from the previous question about presidential privileges and courtesies, which I very readily and happily grant. I have nothing personal against President Akufo-Addo. It's about principles. And if you go through a Hansard, President Akufo-Addo himself, in opposition as ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, espoused some of these principles. You go to the Hansard of 1999, when President Rawlings tried to purchase a new jet under economic, difficulties, and read his debate and the positions. You would think that it's me, speaking today. So you ask yourself, what has really changed, and why should I be subjected to so much attack and opprobrium just for trying to say, let's be committed to protecting the public purse? If we think that the presidential jet is not fit for purpose, and that's what I've been saying, even I said it in Parliament, go to the Hansard, when I invited the former defense minister, then let us probably trade off or sell it and purchase another one. That would be more judicious use of our taxes, sustainable way of ensuring that our presidents travel safely. So the principle is clear, and these are principles that I will continue to hold dear. So I hope that Patrick Ashford-Boydu, I've dealt with your matter. Then Akosia Ochre of City FM. Oh, you have 3 minutes. I'll wrap up quickly. Akosia Ochre of City FM. I'm glad that you spoke to the donation to the Palestinians. Indeed, I believe that most Ghanaians, you all felt proud. There's so many Ghanaians who called me when I went out, many Ghanaians who said, look, for once, Ali, we are also donating something. We are not just receiving. They are tired of us receiving. So I'm glad that you highlight that point. Except that you are saying that when students are owed their scholarships, that we are donating to the Palestinians. I think that the two are not mutually exclusive. We inherited quite a substantial arrears across countries. And as you do know, we only carry out consular services, assist with the students, sometimes help them even with counseling and psychological well-being. But we don't pay. We are not responsible for payment. We only bring it to the attention of the Finance Ministry or the Scholarship Secretariat. The last briefing I received is that these arrears are being cleared. For example, the students who were in Memphis, their arrears, I think, largely has been cleared. The threat of removal from their schools has now been addressed. So we are paying. It's all part of the arrears. But let us not say that when we see people dying and on humanitarian grounds, we can help them with our made-in-Ghana chocolates our cocoa. We shouldn't do that because we owe student fees. Then 24-hour operation, new jobs. Yes, it is in our budget to recruit 100 more people, but we are waiting for the financial clearance. So for now, our hardworking foreign service officers are running shifts, and we are stretching them. So every now and then I visit and give them some nice smiles and other things I won't disclose. But when we get a financial clearance, we will deal with the additional 100 that we really have to engage to take care of this extra support. GNA, you have listed properties, one not under our care. Banquet hall is under the presidency, so I can't speak to that. But the former ministry building, we have been discussing it at management level, what we can do to restore it, because, for example, accommodation, a lot of our staff are living very far away from the ministry, and we would like to build apartments to bring our staff close. So we have discussed it. We've done an expression of interest for the private sector to look at it. AICC, we have just concluded a structural integrity report, and the structural integrity report says that we can use the AICC at least for the next 5 years if we do some renovation. So let me just assure the general public that the building is not about to collapse. Engineers say that once we do some particular renovations, which they have highlighted, which we intend to put in our budget to do next year, then the building will be safe to be used. But as I have said, we are counting on the Shangri-La intervention so that we'll have a new conference facility, a modernized one, to make Ghana the conference destination for West Africa. So thank you very much for your questions.
So thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for